Hola, I'm Javier Ferrara, and welcome to the first lesson of this masterclass. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the alphabet. Okay, el abecedario, as we say in Spanish. So, in this first lesson, we're going to talk about how you recognize the differences between the letters of the Spanish alphabet and the English alphabet. We're also going to understand the unique sounds of the vowels and the consonants. Also, we will learn the tricky letter combinations of CH, double L, or double R. And also, you will begin to spell basic words with confidence as well as building your vocabulary. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to begin with the vowels. In Spanish, the vowels are very important because they are a foundational sound of the alphabet. Unlike English, which sometimes vowels are pronounced and sometimes they are not, in Spanish, we always pronounce the vowels and they always have the same sound. So they don't change at all. So let's take a look first at the letter A. English A in Spanish is A. And what you want to do is you want to open your mouth. You want to let your jaw drop. So you say ah. You have a nice full sound. And it's always the same. That's the beauty about Spanish, is that it's a phonetic language. It is pronounced the way it's written. Okay, so now let's take a look at the second vowel. E. E. It's the same way where you open your mouth. You say E. We have E, E. This is a bit more of a closer sound. Then we have O. It's a cleaner O. And the last one is U. Okay, so you have to make your lips kind of create a circle, U, and then push your breath from that. Okay, so let's do a quick summary of the vowels. Please repeat after me so you get to practice as well. So you don't just listen, but you also repeat the letter afterwards. Okay, so I'll go and then you go. A, E, I, O, U. Great. Now, let's go into the alphabet and then we will get all the letters the way they should be, right? So getting to practice and how they sound. So we'll begin with A, of course, we just did it now. So, and we're going to take a look at the word amor, love. Now repeat after me. Amor. That's right. Amor, love. The next letter is B. And in Spanish, we say B. B. As in barco. Barco. Boat. Okay? We'll go to the next is C. In Spanish is se. Se. And you see that little special symbol, kind of like a star right next to the letter C. This is because the C in Spanish has a lot of rules when it comes to which vowel follows it. Okay, so right now, just for the sake of simplicity, we're going to take a look at the word casa for the C, casa, which means house. But what we're going to do a bit later on this lesson is we're going to break down all the letters that follow C and how that changes the pronunciation. All right. But for now, let's just take a look at the word casa and then we'll come back to it at the end, towards the end of the lesson. Okay. Now we have de. De. As in the word dedo, finger. Dedo. Dedo. All right. Next, we have e, the Spanish e. And we have the word elefante. Repeat after me. Elefante. Elephant. All right. Next, we have the letter F. And in Spanish, it's F. F. The word we have for it is flor. Flower. Flor. Very well. Let's go to the next letter is the letter G. And again, if you take a look here at the screen, we have that little symbol. And what this means is that just like the letter C, the letter G also has special rules depending on which vowel follows it, okay? But for simplicity of now, we're going to take a look at just the letter A, and that gets a G sound. So it's gato. Repeat after me, gato. All right, so that's for the letter G. And again, we're gonna take a look at all the different combinations a bit later on. Now we have the H in English, and in Spanish is H. H. And the thing to keep in mind that is completely different from English is that the H in Spanish is always silent. All right? We never pronounce the H. It's always silent. So what you do is you look at the vowel that follows the H. All right? So in this example here, we have helado, ice cream. Helado. So we are ignoring the H and we're just pronouncing the vowel that follows the H. All right, so this is very important because a lot of times people come from English and they make the mistake and they would say helado or other words like that in pronouncing the H. But in Spanish, it's always silent. Fantastic. Let's move on to the letter E in Spanish. In English would be I, but not to get confused, in Spanish, E is the I in English. So let's see of the word. Now we're going to take a look at the word isla. Isla, island. Okay, isla. It's very simple. It's E. Next, we have the J in English. In Spanish is pronounced jota. Jota. We'll take the word jugo for juice. Jugo. So the J, imagine as if it was the WHO, as in who did this? But it's a J, okay? So that will help you connect the pronunciation of the J with Spanish. Jugo. It's always who, like who did this? Very good. Now let's go over to the letter K. This is in Spanish, K. And we're going to take a look at the word kilómetro. Kilómetro. This is quite simple because the K always has that sound. It doesn't change. Okay? Next, we have L. In Spanish is elle. And we have the word labios. Labios. Now repeat after me. Labios. Okay, so you want to open. Remember what I said about the vowel A. You want to open your mouth when you pronounce the A. So it's labios. Labios, as in lips. Okay, next we have the M. In Spanish is M. M. And we take a look at the word mesa. Mesa, table. Okay, very simple, no special rules with the M. Next we have N. N. And the word we have to associate that is nube. Nube, cloud. Okay, and if you notice so far, all the words that we have been pronouncing, the vowels keep the same sound, just like we looked at it at the beginning of the lesson. Okay, so we know that the U is U and the E in English is E. So it's nube, nube. So that makes it a lot easier to remember how to pronounce the words. Fantastic. Next we have the letter ñ. This does not exist in English. Ñ. So it's the N with that little wave at the top. You see it right here, okay? And there are a few words that begin with ñ in Spanish, but most of the words are on the second or third syllable. Okay, so you won't see many words begin with ñ, but you will see it ending with ñ or in the middle of the word. Maybe you've heard the word mañana, tomorrow. That has an ñ in the middle. And the word here, we have baño, baño. The ñ has a ñ sound, baño. All right, so every time you see the ñ, it's a ñ sound, whether it's in the middle or at the end or in the beginning. Okay, so baño, very important to know what baño is. Bathroom. Fantastic. Let's move on to O. We already talked about it at the beginning, the vowel O. It's a very clean O sound, as in ojo. Ojo. Okay, eye. If I was saying eyes in plural, it would be ojos. But just one eye is ojo. See, and we're pronouncing both O's. Ojo. Very well. Next letter is P, and in Spanish we pronounce it as P. The word we have is pez. Pez is one syllable for fish. Pez. Very well. Let's go to the next one. Q. In Spanish is Q. Q. And here, if you see here, we have Q, U, E. Que. Queso. Queso. Cheese. So the Q, you don't see it together with vowels. You see it most of the time with the U in between. But so when you're pronouncing the Q, you don't say queso, you do not pronounce the U. You ignore the U and you pronounce the vowel that follows it. All right? This is important. So this word is queso. Queso, as in cheese. It's the same thing if you have the Q, the U, and the I. This will not be quizás, no. This is quizás. Quizás. Maybe. Perhaps. Okay? So that's an important thing to know when you are reading. When you see the Q, the U, and the E, queso. It has a que sound. And when you see the Q, the U, and the I, it's a qui. All right? Remember that. That will be very helpful. Very well. Next we have letter R. In Spanish, we say R. R. And this is one of the words that I should say one of the letters that people sometimes have difficulty with because they haven't practiced with rolling the R. So the basic rule is with the R, you have two sounds. You have the single R, which is a rather soft single word, like if you say in the word comer, to eat, comer, or hablar, to speak. It's a very soft R in the end. Now, pay attention because if the word begins with R, then it's a strong sound. You really have to roll the R. So in this example, we have ropa. You see, is this vibration of the tongue, ropa, ropa, okay? Because the word begins with the R. That's why you have to pronounce it with strength and you have to let your tongue vibrate. If the word had the R towards the end or in the middle, it would be a softer sound, okay? So that's something to keep in mind. Again, if the word begins with an R, you have to pronounce r. And basically is you have to breathe from your diaphragm and you have to push that air out and relax your tongue in order to create that sound. With practice, everything is possible. So just remember that. Then we're going to take a look at the double R a little bit later. Now we're going to see S. In Spanish, we say ese, ese. And the word we have here is silla. Silla. Okay, and we're going to talk about the double L a little bit ahead, a little bit more in front, but it's silla, ya sound, chair. And now we have the letter T, teléfono. And the letter T is pronounced as te, teléfono, phone. Very well. Now we have U. As you remember in the vowels, the letter U is pronounced U in Spanish. Uvas. This is how you pronounce grapes. Uvas. Uvas. Very good. Next, we have the V in English, and in Spanish we pronounce it uve. Uve. And the word we have here is verduras. Verduras. Now you say it. Verduras. Vegetables. Verduras. Fantastic. We're almost there. Now we have the W, and this is not a native letter to Spanish. We call it W, which means double V. And here you find words like Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi, but it's not very common in Spanish, so don't worry, you will not see a lot of words with the W, but it's pronounced V. Doble. Okay, next we have X, and in Spanish is X. X. And here we have the word oxígeno. Oxígeno. Okay, oxygen. All right, we're almost there. Here we have the letter Y. In English is Y. In Spanish is Y. And all this means, Y is the Greek I. That's what it translates to, Y. Okay? In this one, you have a sound of ye, yegua, mare, female horse, if you will. So it's a ye sound. Now, sometimes you will see it between words like this and that. And when you have it in the middle, it's just an I. It's just an E. And we will take a look at that a little bit further ahead. All right. And next we have Z or Z. In Spanish is zeta. Now, because there are differences between Spanish from Spain and Spanish from Latin America, one of the differences that you will see is that the letter Z in Spanish is the same pronunciation as the letter S. So it's pronounced zapatos. Zapatos. Where if you live in Spain, or you're learning Spanish from Spain, you would say zapatos with the lisp in your tongue. So this is just a matter of, if you say zapatos to a Spanish person, they will understand you, but it's not the Spanish pronunciation. So if you're learning Spanish for Spain, then you would say zapatos. Okay, and now we're going to begin the special characters that are in Spanish and not in English. Here we have the CH, and this is che. Che. And we take a look at the word chile. Chile. Chili pepper. And now, remember we said that the H is silent when it's only the H, but when you have the C in front of it, is a ch sound. So just like you would say chocolate, like chocolate. So this is easier to understand, right? If you have the C in front, you have to do the ch sound just like chocolate. So chile, just like chili pepper. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the double L. We talked a little bit about it earlier. And with the double L is a ya sound, and it's called elle. So we have the word llave. Llave. Okay, for key. Llave. Every time you have two L's together, you must say ya or yo or whatever it might be. Like chicken, for example, is pollo. P-O-L-L-O. So it's a ya sound always. Don't get confused and say lave because it has two L's. It has to be llave. And the next one is the double R, which we talked a little bit about it earlier. So with the double R is just a strong sound. And you see it always towards the end or in the middle of the words. Here we have the word carro. You see, so I'm breathing from the diaphragm, I'm relaxing the tongue, and I'm just breathing out and rolling the tongue. Carro, for car. If you live in Spain, car is coche, just so you know. So carro is mainly used in Latin America. Coche is used in Spain. But pronouncing the word or pronouncing the letter R comes from your diaphragm, comes from breathing in, you breathe out, and you relax your tongue to get the R sound. Fantastic. And now we will discuss the letter C. Because remember, I said that the letter C changes pronunciation depending on which vowel follows it. So let's take a look at the first example. Here we have C followed by A, and this has a K sound, always. So we take a look at the word cama, bed, cama, right? Quite easy. You know, if it's a C followed by an A, it's a K sound. If we have the C followed by the vowel E, or in the Spanish, E, then we have se. Okay? Se. As in the word cebolla. Cebolla. Now, pay attention because, again, if you're learning Spanish for Spain, in Spain, they pronounce fe. Kind of similar to the Z, cebolla. So they would say cebolla. Latin America, we say cebolla. All right, so it's the same word, just with a slight difference in pronunciation. Now, but this is the main thing though, that we see how if you have CA is Ka, CE is Se. Now let's take a look at what happens when you have the C and the I. Well, when you have the C and the I is Si, just like to see in English, Si. And we take a look at the word here, cielo, cielo, sky. Again, if you are living in Spain or learning Spanish for the Spanish people, it would be cielo, cielo. But if it's Latin America, it's cielo. Next, we have the C and the O, and this is co, K-O sound, as in the word corazón, corazón. Okay, with the accent on the O, corazón, as in heart. And finally, if you have the C with the letter U, it's a Q sound. Q, as in the word cuchara, cuchara. Okay, spoon. Now, quick summary, quick review. CA it's K, CE is Se, CI is Si, CO is Co, CU is Ku. All right? So that will help you realize what's the right pronunciation depending on the vowel that follows it. Now, let's take a look at the letter G because the same rules apply to the letter G when it comes to sound, how it changes. So the first example we have here is G-A, and this is G sound. It's a G, as in the word galleta. Galleta, right? We have a double L, we have to say ye. Galleta, cookie. If we have the G and the letter E, it's ge. Ge. So the sound has changed. Now we take a look at this word gemelos. 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 Twins. Okay? Next, we take a look at the G and the I, and now we have he. As in the word gimnasio, gym. gimnasio. Okay? So you see the G and the E and the G and the I have changed to H sounds. Next we go to G-O. This is go, just like in English, go. And we have the word gorra, gorra for cap. And finally we have G-U. And this is gu, gu. And the word we have here is guantes, guantes. Okay? We have the G, the U, and the A, and this is a gua sound. We pronounce the U and we pronounce the A, guantes. Okay? So now let's do a quick review again. We have G-A, ga. We have G-E, ge. We have G-I, he. We have G-O, go. And finally, we have G-U, gu. Okay? Now, before we finish all these rules, there's one more I want to show you because you will see it quite often in Spanish. The G also changes depending on what letter follows the U. So earlier we saw G-U-A, that as in gua. But now, what happens if we have the G, the U, and the E? Here we get a ge sound. Ge. Okay? So we don't pronounce the U. We don't say gue. We say ge. And the word we have here for that is guerrero. Guerrero. Okay? For warrior. So this is important. When you see the U, the G, the U, and the E together, you say ge. Same thing we do when we have the G, the U, and the letter I. Now we have a gi sound. Gi, as in the word guitarra. Guitarra. We don't pronounce the U, okay? So make that mental note that if you have a G, U, E, is a ge. G, U, I, it's a gi. Okay? And next, in Spanish, we have this little two dots on top of the U. And this is called diéresis. And all this means is that whenever you see the G, the U, and the E together, if you have the U with those two little dots, you have to pronounce the U. That's all that means. Okay? So this is a gue sound. Gue. And the reason why I'm pronouncing the U is because I have diéresis. I have the two dots on top of the U. So we have the word vergüenza. Shame. Vergüenza. Okay? If I did not have those two little dots at the top of this word, it would read vergüenza. But that's not correct because we have the two little dots. So then it must be vergüenza. Vergüenza. You must pronounce the U. And also this happens when you have the letter I following the diéresis. If you have a G, the U with the two dots, and the I, then you must pronounce the U. And so you would say gui. Gui. For the word pingüino. You see? Pingüino. Pingüino. All right? So this is, the letter G has a lot of rules. And so that's why it's important to take the time to understand the difference between which letter follows it. But it just takes practice. My advice to you is to take your time, don't rush through it, go back to this section until you feel comfortable, because it takes time. At first you have a lot of information and it can be quite overwhelming, but just go little by little, learn one step at a time, and that will make everything else be quite easy. Okay, so in summary, the Spanish language is phonetic. And what this means is that it's pronounced the way it's written. So once you learn the pronunciation of each letter, then you can read and people can understand you. So it makes it a lot simpler than other languages like English, which constantly changes the pronunciation. But with Spanish, it's always the same. The other thing is the vowels. They play a central role in pronunciation, so definitely practice pronouncing your vowels. And we talked about the letter C and the letter G. Learn those rules, okay? How they change pronunciation depending on which letter follow it. And we also talked about the letter H. The letter H is silent. Unless you have the CH combination, then it will be a ch sound, like chocolate. And finally, the letter Z in Spain is spelled or pronounced theta, but in Latin America it's just like the S. Okay, so that is it for this first lesson. I will see you on lesson number 2. Hasta luego.